I don't need it. Did they hear me? Could you hear me? Yeah, I don't need it. I have a daughter that graduated in 2017 from Owen. She worked in Kansas City for Cerner Corporation. She just moved back to Atlanta. She's in our first year of Master's in Business Analytics at Emory. And thankfully, in May, she's got a job with Delta, so back off scholarship. I have been in Atlanta since 1996. I am in the car rental business, not enterprise. One of 3 guys that owns 7 budget rental car franchises all over the country, including Atlanta. My involvement in WashU is I am chair of the Atlanta Regional Cabinet. I'm currently a member of the Alumni Board of Governors. I'm on the National Council of the Scandalaire Center, which is kind of the entrepreneurial center at WashU. What else? I think that's it. WashU Owen meets you at the gateway of ideas, innovation, and inspiration with information and timely speakers and events. I'm very happy to be here tonight for such an interesting topic. But first, please allow me to introduce WashU's Olin graduate program's Carrie Donnelly. Carrie has made the trek from St. Louis to be here. I heard that the weather is getting colder in St. Louis, so much of a trek. To be with here tonight, and before we get started, she has a few updates to share with us from the graduate program's office.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hi, my name's Carrie Donnelly. I'm the Assistant Director of Talent Acquisition for graduate programs, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit about what's been going on in graduate programs recently. Recently, we were just named #1 in entrepreneurship from Inc. magazine in partnership with Poets and Quants. And we're particularly excited about that because our core values are entrepreneurship, innovation, and experiential learning, and those are all built into our coursework and our curriculum, so we're very excited about that. This summer, we welcomed our most recent full-time MBA class to campus. Of that class, we had 49% women, which is a great metric that we've worked hard to obtain, and we're happy to have that. Speaking of the full-time MBA class, you may have heard about our new Global Immersion program. This summer, we took 98 students around the world in about 40 days. Students came to came to St. Louis for 2 weeks, where they met one another and did some relationship building and some team building. And then they went to DC for about a week to study at the Brookings Institute, where they studied the intersection of policy and business with an emphasis on East Asia and Europe. From there, they skipped across the pond to Barcelona, where they stayed for about 2 weeks. They had the opportunity to do a project with a kava producer, where they learned about expanding and scaling business operations. From there, they went on to Shanghai, where they stayed for about 2.5 weeks and did a deep dive into supply chain and operations. Also, while in Shanghai, they did a special project with a St. Louis-based company called Strange Donuts, where they looked at the challenges of entering the Chinese market. The program has been extremely well received. The feedback from students has been that it did push them out of their comfort zone, but that it opened their eyes to world markets and has been great. In their second year, they will have the opportunity to go to Israel to study entrepreneurship as well. Also new this year, we just launched a talent analytics track within our business analytics portfolio, bringing that portfolio up to 6 programs. As you can tell, it's a very popular field. And moving forward, we are always looking for ways to adapt and to change and to make our portfolio better, meeting the needs of industry and our students, including new options and increased flexibility. So if you know of anybody that you think might be interested in one of these programs, I will be available to chat with you after the program. So for now, I'm going to turn it back over to Howard. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. We'd also like to recognize another WashU Olin representative. We have here with us Larry Harrison from Olin's Alumni and Development Office. There he is, okay. If anyone is interested in learning more about ways to engage with Olin, please introduce yourself to Larry. So one, I'm just going to editorialize or a couple comments on some of the comments that Carrie has made. I think it's very easy for those of us that obviously WashU's close to our heart, or we all know we got great educations. I think sometimes when we're in Atlanta, if you don't engage with things like this, or if you don't have the opportunity to go back to campus, you don't realize, like someone like me, that I'm more than 40 years out, all the incredible things that are going on, whether it's in business or medicine or biomedical engineering. It's a lot more than just all the fancy buildings they're putting up. So I think that's one of the good things, one of the great things about coming to these events like this, or better yet, if you have the opportunity to be in St. Louis. And I know that a lot of people, if you say, hey, I'm really interested in a certain topic, they're very good about kind of getting you connected with one of those people. And the example I'll use is, I fancy myself as an entrepreneur, and so I had heard, I think from something I went to in Atlanta, about this thing called the Scandalaris Center. And I said, hey, I'd like to find out more about that. I had a couple meetings with the then director, and was put on the national council. But, WashU, was it in the business school that was just named like the #1 entrepreneurial?
Our MBA program.
Right.
Our MBA was named #1 in entrepreneurship.
Right. And even though the Scandalaris Center is kind of a separate entity from that, I'm sure that had something to do. And the Scandalaris really started out being, how can we take all this great intellectual property that the university's created and build a business out of it? And now to the point where there's hatchery classes and business school, and it's really fascinating stuff. And my point is, I only know about it because I go back there several times a year and I go to events like this, so I encourage all of you to do that. So now I'd like to introduce tonight's speaker, Brent Sobol. Brent is the president and founder of Georgia-based nonprofit Legacy Community Housing Corporation that works to enable respectable, affordable housing and to educate the apartment profession on crime-free housing and best practices. He's also you got to correct me if I say anything wrong, right? Okay, so far. Well, it's written right here, so it's got to be true. He's also the owner of Sobol Realty, where he has owned, managed, financed, and invested in more than 6,500 rental units with annual combined operating budgets of $42 million and real estate values in excess of $128 million. Brent has overseen the successful repositioning of 14 apartment communities with capital improvement expenditures totaling more than $27 million. He's active in Habitat for Humanity and Junior Achievement, and has won many awards for his volunteerism and his ongoing commitment to multifamily apartment turnaround and crime prevention. Brent is an Olin alum, undergraduate class of 1998, so that would be 15 years after me, but thanks for rubbing it in, and lives here in Atlanta with his wife and daughter. So without further ado, Brent Sobol.
Thank you. Thanks, Howard. Great. Let me just put this down. Thank you guys for being here. Look, it's an honor and a privilege to come here and do this because I'm a proud WashU alum. I really liked going there. In fact, I still go back quite a bit, and I've made a lot of friends. I've learned a lot from being there, and it's a great school. So the fact that you all have asked me to come and talk about something I love, which is doing what I love and encouraging others to do love, it's very meaningful for me. So thank you for the invitation, and thank you guys for coming out. I know the traffic was terrible tonight. Well, what this really is an alumni sharing knowledge, and I'm happy to come and talk about this concept, which has been important to me. I believe it makes the world a better place. but it's made me a lot of money personally, and it's established a large foundation that I'll tell you about in a little bit by doing what I love and trying to put people in roles in my organization that do what they love. And up until about 3 months ago, I had 34 employees, which was an awful lot. And I tried to put people in roles where they were doing what they loved, so they would always do a great job. Not a good job, but a great job. And when we were great, everybody benefited from that. Customers loved us even more, we made more money, and the world was a better place when they loved what they do. Just so I know, how many of you are potential MBA students at WashU? Because that was one of the target groups tonight. Are there any potential MBA students? Okay, one. Great. Well, I do hope that you go there, and I think you will enjoy it an awful lot. I never got my MBA. I felt like I didn't need it. The BSBA was great for me. It gave me the basics of accounting and just the basics so that I could run the companies that I was running and be an entrepreneur. But it's a great program. So anybody that has an opportunity to go to WashU, I think, should. Okay, so we have about half hour to 45 together. Ask me questions along the way. One of the nice things is this is an intimate group. My name is Brent, and just ask me if you have a question, if something's not clear, and then we'll do questions at the end. Okay? Very good. I saw a lot of heads go up and down, so that's good. And I realize, when you talk to an audience that you don't necessarily know what their background is, some things are going to make a lot of sense, and to others, like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So I don't mind if you ask a clarifying question to allow you to get the rest. I've got about 40 slides that my assistant Kim and I put together. Look, I'm not a professional speaker, but I like to teach. I did some teaching for the folks in my company, training, and I like to share information, so it is what it is. Let's see. Do what you love. Nice graphic there. Hello, my name is Brent Sobol. So who am I and why am I here? Well, I've been a professional, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a professional landlord and property owner for 21 years. That's mostly residential real estate, mostly low-income real estate. And I got a reputation for being the guy that could turn around the apartments that were badly broken. So I was an owner and a property manager. Most apartments, there's a great divide between the owner and the property manager. And I believe that's why so many apartments are stinko. Now, I could say it differently, but I think you guys you get what I mean there. Owner, property manager, I was both. So for the last 7 years, I've run a 501c3 nonprofit. It's the same kind of nonprofit that, we have a Red Cross here tonight. It can be it's a 501c3. And we started it so we could do programming inside apartments and get grants and free money from the government so that we could do things that would enhance the lives of the residents that were there. This is a great idea. I don't know why more people don't do it. Now, why is it such a great idea? And I'm going to show you slides later that prove it. But it builds loyalty from your customer, and then your customer doesn't leave. And they will pay you and not default as much on the terms of their lease. And the number one thing that it does from a business standpoint is there's not as much turnover. So an apartment community, you want to avoid that turnover. You want to have less. And so we were averaging by the end, my portfolio, about 12, 15% of the total. That's ungodly low. It's because we were doing this stuff. But the nonprofit started it all. I'll be honest, we weren't that successful at getting grants. They're a pain in the butt to get. There's a lot of people that are going after them. And we got some, but in hindsight, I don't know that it was worth the effort. But here's what it taught me in the critical time, and this is what funded our foundation to the tune of many, many, many millions of dollars, is we learned that we could buy apartments using tax-exempt debt, bonds that were sold on Wall Street, rated by Standard & Poor's, at terms that were very favorable to the owner. And in order to get that, you had to agree to rent to people that didn't make above certain amounts of money. Okay? So we learned how to do this, and in the dark times of the Shamrock Gardens apartment community, which I'll show you in a bit, we were able to leverage that to own the apartments and have good debt. And this tool still exists today, although it is complicated, but it is possible. And my job now, I run that nonprofit, which has, because of the sale we did. All right, you ready for this? We now have $8 million in our assets for further good. Some of which, there's a couple people in the room that have already received some charitable gifts from that foundation, and I envision we're going to do a whole lot more of that in the coming years, but we have to create our strategic plan before we start putting out more. But I'm very proud of that because it went from nothing to $8 million in 5 years. It's because I love what I do, and it's because I have a team of people that love what they do, which is the mission tonight. Okay? So, who do you think that guy is? Anybody want to guess? That's my dad. Yeah, Dad never graduated college. And, we all have our father stories, mother stories. He had great advice and terrible advice, but he was a real estate developer, so it's in my blood. And as a kid, I watched him have a whole lot of money and nothing. A whole lot of money and nothing. And I said, I don't want that. I don't want to be poor. And I don't want others to be poor. So I learned from my dad, and I took the good, and so I did less of the things he did poorly and more of the things he did well. But this is a guy that loved what he did. He loved selling real estate. When I was a kid, I would hear him selling real estate on the phone. Who does that nowadays? It's all done over the internet, right? I mean, he would say, hey, you'll love this place. And people loved him, and he was a hero because of how he used real estate to make a difference, but he did what he loved. And in the end, he was okay, even though there were ups and downs. But I think if he would have had some business skill, some training, he'd have been okay. So that's Dad. Okay, so Wash U, I really look at Wash U in two buckets. The academic side and the experience side. Academics, all right, I did okay, I wasn't great. But what I was passionate about, what I loved doing, was the experiences side. So what did I do? You're like, oh, what did he do? I had a lot of odd jobs. I was on the concert production team. I went on mission trips through the Catholic Student Center and the YMCA. And I was involved so I did a semester in London and a semester in Hong Kong. And in each place, I managed to get a side job. You're not supposed to work in those countries without a visa. I managed to get some cash because I wanted to make some money and learn. Because when I was making money and doing what I enjoyed, I was learning so much about myself and others. And so great experiences. So the one on there that we'll move on with is Sigma Nu. That was the fraternity. And originally, I didn't even want to get involved. I just showed up to a meeting, and they sort of rope you in like a cult or something. And so I'm in there, and they said, you can get free rent if you be the house manager. So this was my first real property manager job. The fraternity house. These guys were bozos. The partying they were doing was illegal at times. And I was like, what the hell? So I said, well, but you know what? I kind of liked it. I had to interact with the university on the facility maintenance people when things would break, and then we had to go to them and ask them to fix it, or like this. So I was a good property manager, but I really liked doing it. And it was, again, it's doing what you like, and Wash U helped kick that off. Okay. So this is the pivot point for the meeting here, because where did Brent get this idea to do what you like? Well, it came from a Wash U professor, Gavin, in the English department. And so we're all sitting there, and it's the end of the semester, and one of the last days, and somebody said to him, hey, Doc Gavin, do you have any advice for us? And this is an older gentleman, and he was meticulous with his English, just perfect. We would analyze books and all that. And so he said, Yeah, I do. Follow your bliss. I didn't know what bliss meant. I literally had to go and look it up. I mean, he's a smart guy. So now I know your bliss is what you really enjoy doing, right? It's what you love. It's where your spirit is, where your passion is. And the message just resonated with me to my core. And if I could look back on the WashU experience and say, what was the one message that really made the biggest difference? It's this. So why is it important to follow your bliss? Do what you also known as do what you love. Because that's the only way you can really feel good about yourself. It's a belief that I have. When you feel really good about yourself, you're in a position to help others and make a difference in their lives. And my dad had a lot of good sayings, and one he said is, giving is the path to happiness. The more we give, the more we get. It's a life rule. When you feel good, you're going to give more. Whatever it is that you want out of life, you will not find it unless you're enjoying what you do. This is self-actualization. And when you do what you love, the money will come. Almost always. You guys agree? Okay, good. But, there's always a but. But this life maxim is not an excuse to live recklessly. And you must consider the probability of success for your choice, such as being an actor, actress, or pro sports. I have a really wealthy friend, and well, he wasn't wealthy at the time, but I told him this follow your bliss thing, and he just thought it was the craziest concept because it was an excuse or a reason to just do whatever you wanted. Smoke weed, whatever you want to do. Follow your bliss. And I said, man, you're missing the point here. This is really about your soul and your spirit and what you want to do for your working hours, which is the largest component of our lives, more so than sleep, I believe. So, mission, charity, purpose, passion, doing what you love for the purpose of this conversation is really all the same thing, although I realize people can have distinctions and you can debate the different ones, but that's what we're talking about here. Okay, so do what you really love. So I was in the Sigma Nu house as the manager. I learned that I like real estate. My job out of school was with Home Depot for about 2 years. Good company that taught me process, but it was too corporate, but it was still real estate. After that, I moved to Forest Express on Northridge Road. They're the reason I'm in Atlanta. That was 2001 because they were a .com. Anybody remember those? Yeah, it's like, yeah, I remember that. They all just blew up. I mean, it was ridiculous. They had no products, most of them. They were in business, but with no products. And I learned this after I took the job. But they were part owned by Georgia Pacific, an international paper. So it was a big deal, big name, prestigious. They're paying me a lot of money to come here and sit in a cubicle and talk about a product that didn't exist. Yeah, you're laughing because you're like, oh, I had that job. I didn't. It was terrible. But what happened is 9/11, and 9/11 dismantled almost all those .coms. And so they in 1 week, the company was 90% laid off, and there were about 150 of us. And I was feeling really bad. I thought, my goodness, I'm a loser. They're laying me off. And I felt really bad. My wife was giving me counseling. But eventually what happened there is this is a segue into the next part, how there's a WashU connection. There's a man named Mr. James who owns about 2,500 apartments still in Atlanta. I think he's probably worth $40 million today because he's had them so long. When you buy this real estate a long time ago and you pay it down and you manage it responsibly, you just accumulate wealth. It's just this massive snowball thing that a lot of people wish they could get in a week or two or 2 years, but no, you got to do this for a while, right? Yeah, I mean, it rolls, it snowballs. So that's what happened to him. But so I was without a job, And thanks to good old WashU, they had a database called the Alumni Sharing Knowledge Database. Do they still have that? Not sure. The bottom line is you look in a market, wherever you are, and say, I'm looking for people that do bioengineering or do business or do real estate. And then people, alums who wish to give their info, put it there. And in this case, there's only one guy that was doing real estate in Atlanta. It was Mr. James. And so I called him and said, hi, I just got laid off from my .com, and I'm just interested in meeting you because you're doing what I want to be doing here. I realized that in apartments you could make way more money than if you're doing houses. And he knew how to do it. He's a very unsexy business guy that loved what he did and just killed it year in, year out, and put out a nice product for people. So I met with him, and originally initially it's, well, tell me about what you do, and then it got to, well, you know what, I like you, and would you be interested in being my project manager? I just fired the guy that was doing this role 2 weeks ago because he was stealing from me. And I said, what are you paying? but here's the problem. He's a cheap guy, as are a lot of real estate people, and he only wanted to pay about 45% of what I was making at the time. And so I went back and told my wife. She's like, oh, wow, well, why are you going to take this? And I said, well, we made a deal. The deal was I would work my tail off for him and help him make money and do what he does, but he's got to show me the business. And then in about 5 years or so, I would fly from the nest and do my own thing. And it's exactly what happened. I honored my deal with him, and he honored his deal with me. And it was a great relationship. And in about 2006, I went out on my own. I bought a property in Decatur. And in 2.5 years, I made over $2 million because I bought it and I sold it. And you can do that if you time the market right, you've got the right product. So I was a 30-year-old millionaire and feeling very confident, invincible almost. And I bought this property that you're going to see here next. Oh, I got to put this in here. Okay, so the reason this is here is my assistant really, she liked the story. And when I met with Mr. James, I said, well, what will I be doing, sir? And he said, well, you'll be heading the Skunk Works division. And I said, what's the Skunk Works division? He said, well, that's everything that nobody else wanted to do or couldn't do right. How's that sound? That's great. Have any of you worked on the Skunk Works division? A couple of you, there's a hand. But he was a lot smarter than me. And I think if you want to get ahead in business or whatever you're in, you need to be around people that are smarter than you, and then just hope they're altruistic and spend some time with you. And most people, I think, probably will. All right, so this is it. This is the Shamrock Gardens Apartments, and this is in southwest Atlanta. It's on 21 acres. It has about 800 residents, 200 children. There's a 80-student daycare there. It's very nice. And when I bought it in 2006, everything was just roses. I heard harps playing from the angels. That's how nice it was. And everything was going according to plan until what happened? The Great Recession. The Great Recession was the great crippler for a whole lot of good people, good ideas, and it happened to me. And it's just the economics that happens in these times, because tenants can't get jobs. Without jobs, they can't pay the rent. And everything is constricting on you. There's more crime. So it got pretty bad. So I had rolled a lot of my money from the previous win into this. I had 3 partners, by the way, when I started. And when the Great Recession hit, they abandoned me. Just left me. They said, I don't want to do it. I live too far away from here. These socioeconomic problems are too hard here. Their hearts weren't in it. Everybody wants to make money, including myself, but when the going gets tough, well, what happens then? So I just put this up as symbolic of the problems that we were having. Guns, gangs, drugs, and attorneys. No joke on the attorney. No one will laugh on attorneys. Everybody loves attorneys here. I can't stand attorneys. They were suing me for all kinds of stupid bullshit. I mean, I couldn't get them off my ankles, and they all wanted like their $5,000, their $10,000 for their slip and fall and whatever. Get out of here. Anyway, they sucked a lot of time. These attorneys, bad attorneys. There's good attorneys, of course, but the ones that I was working with just weren't. So we had a lot of guns, and by the way, in my career, my teams have removed over 110 guns from the streets that were not supposed to be in the hands of the people that had them. Thank you. All right, thank you. Many of them were with the police, but not all of them. Sometimes they'll just abandon the guns because I don't want it. I'm out of here. But I don't think it's no accident that we got these guns out of there, and we didn't have any shootings. Coincidence? I don't know. It worked well. But there were 4 guns right there where I remember that bust, and that's cocaine and a scale, and some marijuana, some bullets. And I had to start carrying a gun because I just felt like I needed to. And I didn't even know how to use a gun. But that's how bad it got in that Great Recession. But I was still doing what I loved, okay? And out of doing what I loved came this great idea that we can do a lot of programming with residents to make everybody's life better. Their lives as good as, very good. And it didn't cost us a whole lot of time, money, or energy, but we did it. And then we started seeing huge turnaround, and that's the happy ending. But let's take a look. So why did I hang around even though I was having to do all this? I felt like it was the right thing to do because we had all these employees. We had very nice residents. The police wanted to see the transformation that we were making continue on. And it just felt right. The daycare was starting to become great. And it's in your heart sometimes, the decisions that you have to make. Here's a few pictures of the good stuff. So we would take we had programming for teens, for seniors bingo, they love that. And then that's our daycare right there. We hired really good teachers that had certifications, and so their kids were learning when they came to our daycare. And that was our way of turning things around in society, starting with the kids. The kids are the future, in my opinion. My own daughter even attended the academy for a bit. So there's the new playground that we put in. And look at that old, yucky playground. Yeah, pretty bad, right? By the way, this property was owned by the federal government. So I bought it from the federal government, and they gave it to me in quite a bit of disrepair. Federal government is not always on our side. Okay, so our nonprofit, our 501c3, has 3 mission points. The first is advocating for managing respectable, affordable housing. And the key word there is respectable. There's all kinds of affordable housing out there, but it's not respectable in my opinion. I mean, some of it certainly is, but there's a huge section that's just a mess. It's an ugly, dirty mess. So that's number 1. So we can buy properties. It's in our charter. Number 2, which is what this slide is about, is safety. We believe that you need to feel safe in your home before you can do anything else. That's the fundamental. If you think they're doing drugs and they're going to shoot a gun next door and it's going to come through your walls, how do you live? How do you do that? Or if you feel your kid might be abducted because there's sex offenders that live there, which good landlords can check. Bad landlords usually don't because they want the rent. But it's safety. And in order to have great safety, we found we need to have great partnerships with all law enforcement, the police and sheriffs, fire departments. And so we got to know all of them in our extensive turnaround. In fact, most of the chiefs of police here in Atlanta, I know every single one of them. Yeah, because what happened is when we started together 15 years ago, they were lower. We were working together, and now they've moved their way up. And so there's a nice respect there. And they often talk about our apartments as one where it's possible. We're the it's possible apartment community. There's certainly a lot of others that have lost hope. The owners aren't passionate about it. So there's a police officer that we gave an award to. That's our National Night Out celebration with some of our team a year ago, some of the 35. And we're going to play a video here in just a moment to show you, it's a 2-minute video, to show you what the National Night Out celebration looks like. We have the largest one in Atlanta. We had 600 people last year. I think it was our 11th year in a row we've done this. And we give away a lot of thank yous to the police because we believe they don't get enough thank yous for the tough job that they have in truly keeping the peace. And most of them, they're not arrest mongers. Like, they don't want to do the paperwork. They're more about how do we affect the right community change here so that my time is efficient. That's what I hear from most of them. Okay, you ready to watch a video? Yes, Martin? Yes. Okay. Here we go.
But well maintained. Older property should be. Mr. Sobol has created a haven for many people who also appreciate good customer service. So now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the Atlanta City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Atlanta, do hereby honor Mr. Brent Sobol on this day in August for his strong.
They knew this was going to be my last one, so the
leadership,
council gave me a proclamation.
things that he's given this community.
But who you're going to hear now is the major of over all information systems for the city.
Back in 1988. And just in case you don't feel like doing the math, that's 31 years ago. And so I personally have seen this place go from just a place where nobody wants to live to a place where everyone wants to live. And so thank you to Brent and his team, Shamrock Garden, for making that possible. This is truly, truly an example that you can survive, you can live in the community, no matter where you are. You can be safe, you can have a good relationship with the police, and we love it, and it works. And last but not least, this is the best National Night Out, all of the city of Atlanta. Thank you.
Try to expose residents to stuff they've never seen before. Horses, really unique air conditioning systems, different types of music.
Your love gives on. Your love gives on.
Miss England was a board member, a founding board member of our nonprofit. She passed away. So what'd you think? Thanks. It's 100% genuine. You know, there's places that put out this stuff and it's done by PR people. And this was just done very grassroots, and we love doing the event. And I think my staff, they love doing it. It's really their event, and they put it on. Okay, so that's that. I think we have about, how do we advance that? I think we have about 10 minutes left. These are just cool things that we did. Lots of resident engagement. That's a key to making older properties work well. And you put an orchard in. It's on Campbellton Road. There's about 20 trees there. Pears, plums, and oranges on Campbellton Road. Anybody can come and take them. It's just out of the box thinking around goodness, passion, mission, love, caring. It's all kind of the same. And then you're going to make more money. You're going to make more money, I promise. That was Halloween. We give out a lot of candy. Those are the daycare ladies. And Santa always visits every year. Community garden, where the kids are engaged in the garden. That's where we had a working mom. We got her a car so she could get to work through a program. That's where having the knowledge when you're running the place and who to contact really pays off. But a lot of these are beautiful memories for me. I'm very proud that we pull this up because apartments aren't doing this. They're just not. Very few. And there's some, but very few. That's what the inside of the daycare looks like. The kids have to wear a uniform. And every year we do a graduation for the students in the daycare to push them up to kindergarten and have them realize that academics are important. It's not just babysitting. That's the team when we built the playground. Most of the folks have been with me 8, 9, 10 years on average. Now this one's really special. That's my wife and daughter. And so one of the things that came out of doing the right thing by being passionate and doing what you love is that you can engage your family a little bit and they can show up to some of the events and interact. And this was a clean up the block event where the city just wasn't doing it, and so we did it. And so I got that. So that photo is very precious to me because my wife and daughter are both very caring people. And it's nice that I have a profession that they can get involved with every now and then. Okay, there's 3 types of mission companies. They can be either for-profit or non-profit, in my opinion. Now, this is not scientific. This is just Brent's way of classifying every company I meet. I put them into one of these three buckets. And maybe after you do this, you will too. You work for one of these 3. So the first one is the company. The company product is the mission. It's the charity. It's the social objective. That would be any nonprofit. That would be a church. That would be a school. And that can certainly be some for-profits where their product is just very mission. The second one, the company product is not the mission, but they do a lot of charity and service. So I think that Delta, who you're going to see in a moment, fits into that bucket. Home Depot probably does as well. And then number 3, these are the bad guys. The company has no social mission, and they don't do meaningful charity. Tobacco company, title loan, drug cartel. What's the mission of a drug cartel? Hurt other people. Okay, now here's 4 real-world examples of those 3 to drive it home. So Delta, so their product is a plane, and that's not mission-oriented in itself, transporting people around. But what is really cool is that they contributed a whole lot of money, and they did 600,000 volunteer hours, which means their employees are very engaged. That's cool to me. Now 3M, boo. They say they have a mission with social meaning, but in reality, they struggle to implement it. So I know somebody that works for them, they just retired. They said it's just all about next quarter's profits. This guy's been in many different divisions. There's no charity, no service, no engagement. It's about the analysis of a spreadsheet to produce profit, often by using foreign labor. Hey, but they have a mission statement, but are they holding up to their mission statement? I don't believe they are. There's an example of number 3. Okay, we talked about attorneys a minute ago. So there are attorneys that help people, and they're great. And here's one where the woman on the right is being interviewed by the young student about a job, what it's like to work for a government agency. And what this lady does is help people get health care. And I saw this on TV. I just grabbed it with my phone. And this is for young people to talk about career choices. Real jobs, great career choices. And watching a few of these is very much about what I'm talking about today. Are you doing what you love? This lady is. She makes a lot less than if she were an Alston Bird attorney. However, she loves what she does, and that's cool. Okay, surgeon. Struggled as a businessman. So I know this person, and this person loves being a doctor, very good at what he does, but he couldn't run a business practice. And he had 2 failed practices in 2 different big cities and almost went bankrupt. I mean, surgeons shouldn't be going bankrupt and living in little houses. He was, because he never got the business training. But here's the point on the passion and the mission here. The guy was in the right house. He was just in the wrong room. What am I talking about? He went to work for the VA, the Veterans Administration, as a surgeon, and he loves the regularity of this hospital with the mission, and now everything's great. So if you're asking yourself, am I in the right bucket? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but you want to ask yourself, can you structure it a little differently so that you're achieving what you want to achieve? Like him. I mean, if he would have stayed in private practice, he just would have kept repeating the cycle of not having any business knowledge and been frustrated. But now he's in a great spot. Slightly less money, but in a great spot. Okay, shame. So there's so many people that go through life, and they're mean business people. Does anybody know a mean business person? Yeah, she does. And they give little along the way. But then after they've accumulated some money, they start giving. I think the better approach is to incorporate your giving spirit along the way and do what you like doing, rather than just hoarding it all till the end and then, oh, what am I going to put in my will for WashU? Let's give to WashU annually, right? Right. Okay, some final tips for success. Wasn't sure who the audience was, but these are just good. When I talk to people, they like this. Work around people that are better at it than you are. Proven technique to get better. I did it. If you're not doing it, you better ask yourself why. Slow and steady wins the race. I mean, all these people in real estate that think they can do it in a year or two, no, this is a slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. In fact, most big business people, it takes a while. You've got to build that thing up, right? Yeah. And then usually you see the fruits of your many years of labor. Okay. Start investing the money you have yesterday, because as Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. A lot of truth to that. I learned that at WashU, and that was a great truism for me. Okay, and then learn business. Everybody here is into business, I think, but how many times have I heard, and you, Mary, you've heard this a lot, I just wish I would have learned some business, right? Some little accounting. I'm of the opinion almost no small business knows how to do accounting. Okay, number 5, last one here. Try to become an expert at something. Start by being curious. Being curious is awesome. I try to hire for that in my employees. How curious are you? That tells me how willing are you to try to learn some new ways of doing something. Not everybody's willing. Not everybody's curious. But okay, you can do good for others and do good for yourself and make money. This is common in our economy. It doesn't get talked about much, but it's there as much as it should. You can do it in a nonprofit structure or a for-profit. Just be sure you enjoy what you're doing, and make sure you make enough off that choice to live your current lifestyle. I'm not advocating anybody just jump into a new career blindly because it felt right. You've got to put a little basic statistics behind it to see how likely it is to work for you. Okay, in the grand finale here, the ultimate example of someone that does what they love. This is someone we all know. This is a personal hero of mine. This is a person where every decision this man makes is a good one. And he is a good person. And I think he's a role model for doing what you love. And if you disagree with me, you tell me. You ready? Right? Who doesn't love Forrest Gump? I mean, this guy bought into Nike. He bought into Apple. He had a fish company. It's like, wow, he did it all. And the cool thing about him is he went from his gut on this. He trusted his gut, and he worked hard, and he listened to people, and then things worked out for him. But he knew what he wanted to do, and it just happened for him. And I love watching the movie. It's one of my favorites, and if you ever get a chance to go to Savannah, you can see some of that stuff. Okay, last thing here. This is going to be a gift from me to you. So we're talking about giving, the importance of it. And in our organization, I needed something to reward people for the day-to-day good stuff that was happening, because there was so much bad stuff that would be happening. And so the technique that I got was from my mother, who would leave a $2 bill as a tip. And because she loved giving them because it made people happy. Many people believe it brings good luck, which I do too. So we, in the last 4 years, I looked at my P&L, I think we've given out about $8,000 in $2 bills. So that's a lot of good luck, right? And people love it. And what's happened is everybody starts giving them to each other now in the organization. They get a stack. Oh, I like what you're doing here. I'm going to give you one. So it's not just me giving them out. And we did this for my 34 employees. So what I have for you tonight is a going away present to remember what we talked about, because I think this stuff is memorable. I want you to remember this. I want you to think about it. I want you to do some soul searching and say, did this make sense for me? And what am I going to do differently? I want you to do that. And I think if you do, you'll find that you might be headed in a better direction than where you are now, possibly. So what I've got for you from Assistant Kim is a $2 bill. There's enough for everybody here. And afterward, all you have to do is go see Kim the assistant. That's Kim. She has a pocket full of cash. And this will be, you can spend it if you want, but most people that I give them to don't, because it's a remembrance of good things. And the fact that I cared enough to come tonight, give you some time, give you some information, and I'm giving you some money so that you have a reminder that you should make more of that and pay it forward and help somebody else. Okay? All right, that's it. Yes. You can clap, though, first if you want. I mean, I'll take that. That presentation took a lot of time to put all that stuff in there. Oh. Thank you, though. Thank you.
I have the benefit of knowing you personally, so.
Yes.
I just thought maybe you could talk a little bit about, your faith plays a big part in your success and also the doing what you love piece. So can you talk about how that, has played into this story a little bit more?
Faith.
Yeah,
Well, I was raised Catholic, and I'm very Christian. I mean, I believe there's something up there that created all this, and it makes it all happen. But in my organization, we don't wear that. In the nonprofit is not faith-based, and we've welcomed everybody to be a part of the team as long as you're being good and contributing in meaningful ways. And what I found was a lot of my tenants were Christian. A large percentage were, actually, much more so than I thought. I would have thought some of them were like heathens or something at points in time. But they were, and so we've allowed pastors to have church service in our community rooms for them. No apartments are doing that. They're not, but it was vital to that fabric of people feeling connected and believing that there's a better tomorrow. I mean, look, my average tenant was making $14,000 a year, some less. So we wanted to give them some hope that they lived in a nice place, it looked nice, it was okay to bring your friends to, your date to, and that it felt safe. And yeah, for me, there's definitely a biblical belief that it's the right thing to do to take care of others in ways that might be getting missed by the system. And our charity has tended to focus on things that fit in that category, where it's not the mainstream charity, it's not the American Red Cross or Habitat for Humanity, it's more the grassroots stuff that might not get funded elsewhere. But we think they're doing good stuff. Does that answer your question? Great question. Thanks for asking it. Yes, sir.
It sounds like you have sold off the apartments that you had within the nonprofit that's giving you the cushion.
Correct.
When you sold the apartments, how did you ensure that the purchaser would continue the legacy of what you've done thus far?
Oh, that's a really, really good question, because most people in my shoes would just say, oh, hell with it. Who's the highest bidder? Let's have the auction. But we were very mindful of the opposite, which is we said, look, we have 13 years of work here, and we don't want it to deteriorate because someone thinks that they're going to do it so differently and better that that's not likely. It's possible, but it's not likely. So we selected a broker who put in place criteria for the buying company, which one of the criteria was you had to keep all the staff. They had to agree to that in writing. You had to keep the daycare attached to the apartment real estate. Very unconventional thinking. That you had to honor the free apartments that we'd given to police and staff that were there. Because we knew if the cops weren't present, things could unravel. We didn't want that. And we'd worked hard to keep them a part of the community. So those were the core tenets. They also agreed that any rent increase was not going to be dramatic. So there have been some rent increases, but people have been able to afford it without any problem. That's a really, really good question. And we've gotten that before from other people. Because people want to know, hey, are you really mission-oriented or not? That's what it gets down to, and we are. And we're proving it. I didn't want to sell the place, actually, but I have a board of directors that I'm accountable to. And they said, hey, one, there's a lot of money here. And then they also said, you've done about all you can do here. We think you can make better, you can be better for society if we get you doing other stuff like this, like doing apartment association events, talking to owners and trying to show them that maybe there's a better way. So initially I bucked a bit, but then I realized, yeah, this is for the greater good. And now we're about 3 months into the sale. Kim and I were over there the other day, and it looked pretty good. I didn't see anything that looked bad. They're actually making a couple of improvements. Thanks for the question.
Brent, what's the foundation of your mission statement? And the reason I'm asking that is I think there's about 15 of us here, or more than 15 of us, and you invested $2 in each of us.
Yeah.
So I know I'm thinking to myself, when you started this venture, it just didn't come out of nowhere. So what's the foundation of that mission statement and your business plan to buy distressed property in underprivileged neighborhoods and to help people?
All right. Well, initially, I'll be honest, I was a capitalist. I mean, I wanted to make money and to make a lot of money. And I saw the model. You buy a 100-unit apartment community for about $20,000 a door. You put about $5 a door in it. You hold it for about 2-3 years, and then you sell it for $35 a door. You can do that all day long in Atlanta for many years. And I got addicted to it. But then I started seeing that, well, okay, it doesn't cost me that much more to put in to the operations some social programming that made it a great place, and that people liked me, they liked my staff, they liked living there. There was that pride of ownership. And then it grew from there. And what ultimately carried us out of the dark times was the great programming, because people were loyal to that. They appreciated it. They wanted it. They were willing to pay for it.
So
and they did.
How does that beginning stage equate to the investment in $2 and the people who were here? How do you equate that? I just want to understand how you deeply think and then you deeply invest in people.
Well, the $2 is symbolic.
Okay.
And it's hopefully inspirational.
Okay.
And then it's something to remind you, hey, somebody cares about me and what I'm doing, and it's unique. It's hopefully good luck, and it could be a catalyst for things going forward more emotionally. I mean, a lot of people don't succeed because they don't take action. Not everybody, of course, but hopefully, like when we would give the twos out to staff, we wanted them to do more of what we were rewarding them for. So it was a catalyst for continued good behavior and interactions.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do 1 or 2 more questions.
However many you'd like. And
Going back to the question the gentleman in front of me asked earlier, based on your faith, I am so interested in a faith-based nonprofit organization or for-profit, whichever way it's going to go. But my bottom line is faith is so taboo. We're in a generation where it's got to be all faiths or no faith at all. However, the United States of America has you can believe what you want to believe. However, that doesn't mean we're going to support it. Making a longer story short, my question, I guess, would be, how do you, when you're saying passion, that means you're putting your heart into something. How do you put your heart out there and just, I guess, blind faith and say, it may get broken. Somebody may not agree with what I have a passion for. I have to have that faith, as he was saying, to say, hey, this is what I believe, because I'm a living witness. I've experienced it. It's worked for me. I believe this could work for others. Let me put my heart out there and show others that this is what we're going to do the way I've done it. I'm a success story, my own success story. So I guess my question would be, how do you guard your heart when you I believe this is what I need to do. This is my passion. I really love to do this. When others may not love what you do.
Yeah.
Is it blind faith? Is there such a thing as, you know what, no matter what people think, this is what I love, and I'm just going to jump and do it?
Well,
Blind faith.
I mean, for me and a lot of people I know that have made it, they're resilient to the point of, well, they don't feel a lot of that rejection. You know, the Starbucks guy, they often say he had 1,000 rejections before someone said, yeah, we'll do your coffee shop. I think if you're acting with your conviction and you're not being rude, then, and you have the time and the money to do it, keep forging on. Eventually your victory will be that much sweeter. Someone will embrace you. I have to believe that. Because sure, there's people that shun faith-based anything, but there's a whole lot of other people that just say, hey, I love it. It's right for me. Let's do more of it. I wish I had a better answer, but I feel you.
That's the answer I'm looking for.
That was the answer you're looking for?
Resilience.
Yeah, resilience, okay.
One word.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I could have quit. I could have given up. My wife said, Brent, they're pointing guns at you. Are you sure you want to keep doing this job? And I said, well, yeah, I do want to keep doing this job. And she said, okay, I'll support you, and I'll pray for you. That's true. I mean, this is all true.
Well, Brent, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you. For those of you who are here tonight, I just want to say that I've seen Shamrock, and because I'm a community development practitioner, and I've worked in other multifamily apartment communities, and none of them, the difference was like night and day. So in terms of what you were saying, it did take not only his faith, but also the courage to walk out his faith in the community that he has created. So really, it was about building community, engaging those residents, developing relationships, not just with the residents, but the entire Camelton Road corridor community, opening up Shamrock Gardens and everything in close proximity. He only had a few of the things, highlighting, I guess, what he was trying to do was keeping it to just the 30 minutes or whatever. But there was a lot more that he has developed and built for that community. So I really thank him, and I'm hoping that once he gets maybe a few couple of months more under his belt, you know, he's still going through a transition, but I definitely want him to work on promoting his model, his brand of management, because we are in a deficit as it relates to affordable housing, and I mean affordable housing for low-income individuals and families. So we desperately need the kind of person that he is and people that will step up and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I just thought of another answer to your question. It's love. Love can get you in the door. And love can be religion neutral if that's a concern. Love opens. I mean, look, how did I get embraced down there? I don't look like the culture. I don't have, I'm just totally different, but I was embraced because love carried the day.
Okay. Brent, I'm supposed to close it out, but since I have the mic.
There's more questions.
No, since I have the mic, I get to ask a question. So,
Okay.
Everyone good? Breakfast will be served soon. We're good. So, my question, and this is kind of the question that you got about selling this community and the continuation of something. So, I think about a lot of us that try to give back and philanthropy, and I think one of the toughest things to think about is what's it going to be like when I'm gone? And so, is there anything, thinking about this community that you developed, and you did all these things for the residents, okay, or in any other business venture that you've been in, is there anything that you can think of that's really more about how is this going to continue on when I'm no longer part of the picture?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. When you're operating apartments, there's only so many variables or data points and then there's only so many you can control when you're selling. It's very unusual to put those criteria on a potential buyer.
Right.
What I can tell you is there are about 5 or 6 people there that we're continuing to subsidize and support because we think they're heading in the right direction.
Right.
And it does keep us sort of connected. And then I'm able to ask those people, well, how's it going out there? How's it feel? What's it like? And everybody's basically saying, you know what? Things are continuing. It's almost like we don't even notice there's a change, which is exactly what I was hoping would happen.
Yeah. I mean, I was also thinking about, the idea you said about engaging with the police.
Yes.
Or the importance of the daycare center to the community.
Right.
And so now you have, how long did you say you own this apartment complex?
13 years.
Okay, so now you have kids that are teenagers that were originally in that daycare center that, maybe, hey, this was done for me. Now I'm going to do forward wherever I go and my next stop. Seeing that, kind of see where I'm going with that?
Well, you're right. Enough time has passed to where you can start to see people grow up and what difference they're making. And we don't have any scientific data on it, but anecdotally we've heard from parents and some young people that they felt their time there was formative. I got a great one for you. So my wife and I are going to the airport at 6 a.m. It's about a month ago. And we call Lyft to take us. I'm kind of like...
Not budget rent-a-car?
What's that?
Not budget rent-a-car? That's all right. You're killing me, dude.
I don't use rental cars anymore. I'll Lyft.
I guess you could have said Enterprise.
But this is a great story. So the guy pulls up, it's dark, and it's a younger black guy. He's got a nice car, and he says, and he's getting our bags, and he goes, hey, are you Mr. Brent? And so I'm thinking, oh shit, did I arrest this guy? I mean, is he coming to get me now? And of course, my wife and daughter were there, and they're like, what's going on here? How does he know you? And then he proceeds to, the whole ride to the airport, praise me and my team and reminisce about how we made a difference in his life. And then I started to remember this kid because he was smoking a lot of weed. And I said, you got to stop that. That's not going to get you where you want to go, man. We tried that straight talk. And I remembered him. And I remembered his mother. We had to kick his mother out because she was smoking weed. And he told me, he says, the best thing you ever did to kick my mom out because it woke her up. And then he said, you're the only man that's ever cared about me.
And on that note,
and my wife and daughter heard it in the back, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. This doesn't happen to most people. But it happened to me, and it made me feel great.
Right.
Devontae.
So you did pay it forward.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I told him. I said, I gave him a really big tip. And I said, I really want you to do it for somebody else. That's the evolution of why we met today. So you can do that. And he said he would.
Okay.
And I have other stories like that, but that one was just about a month ago. And
That's the ones that's closest to your memory.
As I get older, that's right. I can't go back. But I love that story. I need to never forget that one.
Okay. Thanks, Brent. Appreciate it.
I'll answer any questions you guys have. I'll hang out for a while. And Kim, you want to come up here and dole out the money?
I'll excuse the lift stories. It's going to be tough.
Well, you need to tell these folks you own the budget rental car here in Atlanta, so
It's an inside joke.
yeah.
Brent, thanks for a wonderful presentation. We hope everyone enjoyed it. Before we go, remember, if you're interested in learning more of the graduate programs or ways to get involved with Olin, please see Carrie or Larry. They'd be happy to chat with you. I think there's food and beverage outside. It's paid for. It was done for $50, so there's lots of take-homes. We got take-home containers for everyone. I'm just kidding. All right, thank you very much.